Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside 9. I am Brent West, along with Jack Lord, Rodney West. We will be talking professional wrestling today, and a lot of things are going on in the professional wrestling. But I want to go over something real quick. I was sitting in my car waiting for some things today, and I did a little research, and I'm going to get y'all's opinion of this a little bit. Let's start with ratings. I'm going to talk about ratings for just a second. AEW in 2020, 819,000. 2021, 757,000. 2022, 1 million. And this is during this March point. This would be the time right now in March. So this would be the week of March. And this is all Marches. And then the 23rd, 954,000. Not a lot of growth there, is there?
No.
Well, why do you think, Jack? Why are they not getting growth?
I think the product is stale. I know that they do, they try to do all these exciting matches and all, but everything is still centered around basically the same guys for, the entire run of the company. And once you reach a level of doing physicality, you can't go past that. I mean, the human body is only going to go so far. And they opened wide with, all these guys flying through the air and doing all this stuff. And now I think fans have got tired of that a good bit. And the funny thing to me is that when they present actual matches from time to time, they get tremendous response, a positive response from these. But they just, I don't know if they're not listening to the fans, or maybe they're just listening to the ones on the internet. But they're missing something here, and I don't know how many more AEW stars they can get from WWE. So,
when I look at these numbers, 819,000 was their first when they were in when they first went into business, and that would have been in March of 2020. And then when you look at 2023, when you look at 954,000, Rodney, what does that tell you? I mean, yeah, it's up a little bit, but it's down from March of 2022.
I think Jack hit the nail on the head, but the bottom line is they have failed to develop their own style. And when you fail to develop your own style, there's already, what is that, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours of that already on television. So another 2 more of not the original stuff simply is not going to go. It's just not going to happen. And that's my opinion, because like I said, if you've taken all this time and you've really not built a star, you still don't have a major draw star. You still have to put together kind of a package. I think they do pretty good when they do house shows. I think the last show I saw had a pretty good house. But in essence, though, they still really do not have a star that is not from the WWE. And I don't think they've really tried. And I think, Wardlow is out again. And again, here you had the opportunity, and they had no idea what they were going to do with him past doing the turn. And this is lack of direction. This is a lack of, why would you turn somebody if you don't know what you're going to do with them for the next year? And simply doing the same thing over and over again is not going to cut it. If you're going to turn somebody, in my opinion, you need to push them to the fullest extent. He should already have been the AEW champion. He should have already been the champion. He should have once he made that turn, he should have led the company. But that's not what they want. Tony Khan, if it's still not a WWE star, he's really not, has no interest in them.
I believe, though, when I look at what they may be paying AEW, TBS, I believe they are paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $32,000 an episode. I think they will keep it there because no other television program that they can produce would probably be that cheap. Am I right about this, Jack? So I think they will keep him around because of that.
That's right. There's nothing more cheap that they could put on television than AEW. You're exactly right about that.
I do believe. Well, I'm being honest with you. I think I really believe. What's that show? I never liked it, but there's a Young Sheldon show made out of it as well now.
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory, which I could not stand, but I believe it cost more than AEW cost per episode.
Well, here we have a situation, Brent, and let me try to explain this to you, and I'm gonna slow it down where you can understand it. Maybe Tony Khan be slow as well as he can understand it. When you talk about Big Bang Theory, you created 5, 6 big stars. Then as the time, and they were a successful program, and as they were more successful, the ratings were even better. The talent demanded more money. So that would cause your cost to go up. No one at AEW can say, I'm really causing these great ratings here. So they can't demand more money for something that doesn't produce. There's a difference. You compare AEW to Big Bang Theory is just not a good thing
there. Jack, did AEW, I'm going to ask you this question about AEW again, and then we're going to move on to WWE. But I'm going to ask this question about, did they lose steam? Because Cody Rhodes was the catalyst for AEW's fan base, I believe. Because he was the guy that was telling everyone, I've been held down by the big man, WWE, and he wouldn't allow me to do something. He put a star on my face, and he did all this stuff to me. Did they lose portions of that? Did the fans just say, he never did nothing there either. So did it hurt him when he?
I think that it probably did to an extent, because everybody knew that he was one of the really driving creative forces behind it. Let's remember, Tony Khan was handing out executive vice president titles to everybody that walked through the door, basically. But he was the only one that actually showed up and did the vice president work. And when he left, there was a hole left in the management of that company that Tony still has not filled. And I think the stagnancy of their growth shows that. Tony just wants to do what Tony wants to do. And you could even say that of Vince McMahon to a certain extent, but if Vince wasn't making money, he would change what he wanted to do.
Yes.
Tony is unable to do that so far, and that's a shame because he's really got some good talent. He just doesn't know how to control them. He doesn't know how to put them in the positions to draw. And like he was saying about Wardlow, they handled his babyface turn tremendous. I thought it was great, but it just that was the top of the mountain. Instead of going up farther on the mountain, it was just like he slowly started going down. And it wasn't his fault. That was Tony. That's all on him.
Was that a problem again with the other 3 or 4 people who are talking to him on a daily basis? The Omega, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks, they get upset. No, I don't think we need to push him anymore. And then he just listens to them, because that's going to be a 3-person problem going forward.
Let's be honest. Cody had experience at a big time level. Cody was maybe not involved with the running of WWE, but he paid attention to how it was ran. His dad ran companies. We saw him when we worked with Dusty. He was a kid, but he was still coming to the shows and seeing how his dad did things.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the Young Bucks and Omega, I mean, honestly, I'm not taking a dig at them because I know they all have their fans, but what have they done from a office end? To be in this position, they're not. Tony was bluntly, he was a mark for them, and he thought they would draw huge numbers. And I think they did help him get off to a good start. But now, 3 years later, They don't draw any numbers. In fact, people are turning off the segments that they're on.
Wow.
So, there needs to be a change of direction, and I'm not saying fire them. I'm just saying take those titles away from them and actually put people in those positions that know what they're doing and listen to them. There's so many veterans out there available. He's got so many that are there now, but he won't listen to. Tell Jake he's going to have to start wearing a suit and tie. He'd do it if you'd pay him and actually listen to him.
This is true.
Okay.
Let's look at SmackDown ratings, and we'll go back to 2015 on it. 2.5. The 2016, 2.5. 2017, 2.6. 2018, 2.5. 2019, 2.4. 2020, 2.3. 2021, 2.2. 2022, 2.1. And 2023 is 2 point. Now they go a little higher than that. I'm not going to get it because they really get into 2,219,563. Pretty consistent for the past since 2015. Rodney, why is the consistency there?
Well, the product stays consistent for one thing. And you will not see, if you went through every single one of those years, you're not going to see the same person on top every single year. It's very rare. It's very, very rare with them. I think Roman Reigns is the one that lasted the longest in the top position. But as far as the same people every single year, no, they're always featuring somebody new, and that's the key. That way you don't overexpose them. When somebody's out, they may be gone like let's see, Alexa Bliss was gone for the last few weeks. We know now where she was gone to. She was doing The Masked Singer. But they don't have to keep featuring the same people every single week and every year after year after year. And I think that's certainly the key to it, because in most of the territories, if you'll notice, they didn't consistently feature the same people. Some territories did, but those are the ones that eventually, fell off to the wayside. But in most cases, you have a constant flow of new talent, and then they would let the ones that had been there for a while take some time off. They bring them back. They're even bigger than they ever were. So I think that's the key, and it's Vince McMahon. Let's be very frank. It's Vince McMahon and his expertise. You take his expertise and put it against Tony Khan's. There's no comparison. I think what he would say is what he said about USWA, and comparing the USWA to the WWE. It's like comparing, what was that, ice cream to horse manure. And I think that's exactly what we've got here when we're talking about the expertise and the experience between Vince McMahon and another promotion.
Jack, do you agree with those assessments?
Yeah, 100%.
All right, let's look at Raw for just a moment. Now, here's something this is kind of sad, and I only went back to 2015. Mm-hmm. 2015, 3.9 million people. 2016, 3.7. 2017, 3 million. 2018, 3.3. 2009, 2.6. 2020, 2 million. 21, 1.7. 22, 1.9. 2023, 1.7. Where did those almost 3 million people go? Jack, where did they go?
Well, we know they didn't go to AEW. The product, it had grown a little stale there too. And I think that people just got turned off, by the same people being used over and over again, even when they shifted them up and down the card. And we've said this before, what Vince has been missing is he doesn't have any real superstars. I've always argued that, The Rock was the last one that he produced. Brock Lesnar, I think, is a true superstar, but he's more of an attraction than somebody that needs to be regularly on the card. Because you can bring Brock in, you can push him hard, do some kind of blow off, and then he's gone for 6 to 8 months. And that's smart booking in that aspect, but there's nobody to fill that spot when he's gone.
Yeah.
And, and Vince always had that attitude of, after Steve Austin, The Rock, and all the guys that were in those top spots, and how he felt like he had to cater to them to a certain extent. And he did, and he should have, because those guys understood their character. They understood what worked and what didn't. And they were ultimately, they were protecting themselves, sure, but they were trying to help the company. But Vince was one of those promoters of, it's my way or no way. So that's why he has held back, and he hasn't made any great superstars. And we all know if a superstar can be made, Vince McMahon is the one that can do it.
Yeah.
He just didn't want to. He wanted WWE as a whole to be the superstar showcase, basically. But you didn't have that one guy that, like a Hogan or whatever, that would actually sell tickets at house shows, and sell pay-per-views.
Rodney, what do you think? How do you go?
Right, so the last rating that you had for SmackDown was 2.1, right?
The last rating that I had for SmackDown, which would have been March, whatever the last March one came out, was is actually 2,219,000.
So 2.2.
Yeah.
Right, and then Raw for the last one was 1.7.
It was 1,770,000.
All right, so 1.1. Not too far off from the other show. Actually, the better show is SmackDown. Because one thing is a shorter 3-hour show is just too long, and it has been too long for a very long time. I would be interested in knowing when that show went to 3 hours, if that would be a correlation of when that started to drop. Because it probably doesn't say in your research there, does it, when it went from 2 hours to 3? Because with 2 hours, it was, really doing big time. It was just doing from the 9. I think at one time they were even going over maybe 10 minutes into the next show. I think the 3-hour show is what hurts their ratings there. But if you look, it's not too far off from SmackDown. And my other thing would be is that was SmackDown on at the same time as this other show was either? Was it? What year did when these quotes was SmackDown on at the same time?
Yeah, SmackDown was on in 2015. SmackDown did 2.5 and Raw did 3.9. And now remember, this is at the top level because this is always in March. And I think this would all be the go-home shows. I guess that's what they call them,
right, prior
to WrestleMania.
Well, I think at the same time, I think that putting too many hours of television on air is also something that hurts them. You overexpose your product when you do that. And being that Raw comes on Monday, Friday, everybody's ready to sit down, as far as I'm concerned. But that would be something that he needs to look at, going from the 3.9 down to that. I would be screaming bloody murder.
But is Vince going to be screaming, or is it going to be the people paying for it?
That's both. It should be both. He should be all over it. He should be all over his people. Of course, USA probably is all over him. And we know that the same people didn't. So my idea for what kept SmackDown going does not hold true with the Raw situation, especially with these numbers. The numbers simply don't lie. So my question is, are people choosing which show to watch? Have they decided, okay, I'm going to stick with the SmackDown show, or do they want to stick with Raw? Understand, I wouldn't sit through 3 hours of Raw. I just simply wouldn't. I fast forward through it. I did it normally. I had doing it at 2, but I find it more exciting at 4 now when I'm watching the show. So, yeah, that would be something to certainly look at. That would concern me to drop literally in half, a little more than half. What's going on there?
Since 2015.
Sure.
Let me ask you this, Jack. When did they start giving Vince McMahon, and maybe you know this, maybe we need to do some research on it. When did they start giving him the $200 million a year for the programming on Raw?
I don't remember now when that started.
But
I would say 4 years ago, because I think that's usually the length of their contract, the agreements.
So in 2019, basically.
Yeah.
So they were doing 2.5s at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It would seem to think even at that point, when their contract comes up to renegotiation, I think even Vince McMahon probably knows that's going to go down. Is that the reason they're wanting to sell the WWE, because they understand this is happening?
Maybe so. I read this article today. Let's see, where's it from? It's a newspaper, legit newspaper deal called Seeking Alpha, and they were talking about how the WWE stock keeps going up. It went up 1.7% this week. So, that's a pretty good little jump there. And it just keeps growing. It's not sliding back and then coming back up. It's on a steady climb up. But they discussed that the buyers that are actually in the real thick of the fight now is a place called Liberty Global. I have no idea who that is. Of course, the Saudi Public Investment Fund and the Endeavor Group, which owns UFC. Although Endeavor has said they're not interested, they're still in talks with WWE. So they are interested. And the article goes on to explain how they can basically help co-promote between UFC and WWE, and they think that would be the key to growing both products.
Their product, UFC, is equal to WWE,
Mm-hmm.
and in money. I don't know people wise, I'm not for sure, but I do know in money that they're doing as good as WWE. I think they did $1.4 billion in profit, not profits, but gross in 2022. I think WWE did 1.3 million. The only problem was, I think they made more profit over at UFC than WWE did, because WWE even did 1.3, only made 326 million of that in profit, which I'm not saying just only, but when you take that in account.
I don't think that UFC has the reach of a WWE though, and I think that would be a great help to them to become a global, really true global company. And they could learn from WWE about how, to make money off social media.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other big industry that makes more than WWE does off that. So
my question to you isn't basically though, is it UFC? Aren't they basically competition? Isn't that where basically the wrestling fan per se has landed, and that if you try to incorporate either one of the products into it, would that alienate that group?
There's a possibility of that, because honestly, the UFC fans that I see take great offense to being compared to professional wrestling. I can kind of see that. But obviously the company sees the value of not combining the companies, but promoting, owning both
cross promotions.
Yeah, and cross promote those things. Yeah.
Well, would that not really speak to WWE's turn to the athletes with the level up? Would that not?
Could be. Yeah.
I think part of the problem with both companies is believability.
Yeah.
And I believe if they will get some believability and quit doing comedy, for goodness sakes, quit doing comedy. Make wrestling a drama. 12 million people watched Yellowstone. Over 14 million watched 1923 in one of the most brilliant written shows on television I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
There's something missing in the wrestling business. They're missing something, and someone's got to come along at some point to give the older wrestling fans and the people who are not even watching wrestling, that's never turned it on, turn that on and keep on that channel. I'm sorry, Sami Zayn, but if I turned the TV on and you were on it, I would turn it right back off.
Well, I'm sure for the
you look like you should be in the home somewhere.
well,
You're not.
there's certainly a lot of people. Of course, he's drawn the homeless fans to the program, so that I'm sure that's really high the ratings when he's on.
Here's the thing: Sami Zayn, whatever you call himself, Hulk Hogan. Are you going to stop for Hulk Hogan? Yeah, you'll stop that. You'll turn that channel back. Would you turn the channel back for if you were just turning the channels? Would he make you turn it back? Roman Reigns will. Bobby Lashley certainly will. But they've used and abused him so much, they'll never draw him any money, unfortunately. They need wrestlers. Look at Ted DiBiase again, put him in the picture, and then put Damian Priest in the picture. Ted DiBiase had the ability to somehow make you stop and see him. Why does Damian Priest don't have it? The Rock and Roll Express had something that people would stop and turn it and watch it. But the Usos don't. Why? What's missing? And I think it's because everybody looks the same. If you ever put down that WWE Superstars list, every wrestler on that list look exactly the same.
Well, and they're all trained and expected to work the same too. You know, the only thing different between any of the matches there are the storylines. Otherwise, the matches are almost always the same. I mean, that's why I enjoyed Sheamus and Gunther so much last year, was because that was not in their norm of how they do matches.
Yeah.
That was presented in, get this, a professional wrestling style. And people lost their minds over it, and should have, because to me it was one of the best matches I have seen, and I can't even tell you how long. But if they were to pull back all this, produce it, and nothing against the producers there, I think they've got some of the best guys in the business doing what they're told to do.
Yeah.
But if they would pull back and just go over this is what we're looking for, and this is what we don't need you to do. And no different from what it used to be. And let those guys go out there. If you want to hold them down by telling them exactly what they have to say in interviews, okay. But let those people go out there and either do what they do best or learn how to do it better.
Yeah.
Well, here's something I wanted to talk about, and I think it will play into what you've been discussing. The fact is that the WWE, especially, I don't watch AEW. I don't have time for that rubbish. But the bottom line is,
if you ever stopped up really bad, good thing to watch. It's AEW. Watch it. Stopped up. Go ahead, right here, sir.
Do I look like I'm stopped up? No. What I was trying to get at is that the thing about telegraphing every single thing. Let's go back. They telegraphed Sami Zayn situation. Okay, now they're telegraphing Trish Stratus and her little turn. They telegraphed, remember the Bailey and Sasha Banks. They telegraphed that. Every single angle they do, in essence, they telegraph. Think about it. Did Ole telegraph the jumping in the parking lot with Dusty Rhodes? No. You didn't know. You didn't see that coming. Not a million miles off. You didn't see it coming. You saw that Dusty was going to be the special guest referee in that particular evening. And think about it. That one angle carried them through the entire year. Yeah. I mean, really brought the ratings in and had the opportunity for Wrestling 2 and Superstar to be seen, basically. Think about it. When Bob turned against Ron Fuller in Mobile, special guest referee with Ric Flair, nobody saw that coming. It was not telegraphed. And that's my thing. Or is it to the point where they have produced a show like when we used to watch some of these shows where you knew who the villain was in the show, but none of the characters in the show knew who it was. But you as a person watching it knew who it was. Is that what they're doing now? They're doing the little soap opera nonsense where the wrestlers are acting like they don't watch the show ever, so they can't see any of this stuff happening. And I mean, think about it. I watched The Birds of Prey, which was a short-lived DC show with Batgirl playing she was Oracle in this one, and where Harley Quinn was the villain. Everybody knew she was the villain that was watching the show except for them. Is that the way they're doing this? Telegraphing it to the people, while the people that's supposed to be participating, they don't know. I think that's part of it. I mean, think about it. If they never telegraphed, if Ole would have telegraphed that he was going to turn in Dusty in the cage, I mean, it would have been flat. It would have been just totally garbage. I was thinking about that today when Ron turned on Blob on television. I don't think anybody saw that coming. They probably, some people felt justified with what happened the year before, but they did not see it coming. Okay, they never saw it coming, and I think that's part of it. They telegraph just about every single thing they do. Can you imagine telegraphing the fact that you're going to change the title? Which I don't at this point, being that they showed the belt the other day I watched the thing where they showed the belt. I'm beginning to think that may not be the case. But we will soon find out this weekend. But I think telegraphing the angles, telegraphing what you're doing, is a detriment. It will not keep people tuned in at all. Opinion?
Here I got opinion, and I'll ask Jack. I have watched in the last few months, since June of last year, July, I've watched a lot of television. I had some time to watch more TV. The writing on shows, especially on, and I'm not, NBC's got some horrible shows on television. All right, let's just be honest with you. They're not too good.
You're not talking about the AV News there, are you?
Possibly. But you go to Netflix, they have some Outer Banks, such rich written shows. Why would you waste your time on that same show every week on WB when you could be turning over watching Picard, which is, if you've not watched season 3, one of the best written third seasons of all time, and the last season for Picard. It's just not well done. It's almost like watching a B movie wrestling is now. It's like even I may even go to see movie to a certain extent. Jack, your thoughts, and then we'll talk to the insiders.
Well, we have, talked forever too, and I think this is a big element that we all kind of tend to look over because it's been going on so long. But Star Wars, the entire sagas, all the shows and TV shows and movies, I love all of those. But if I knew everything that was going to happen, I'd probably skip it, or at least a lot of it, And I think that has hurt us. And inside the industry, the people that we have to blame is ourselves. If somebody had commented. Let me see. Kevin Penley. He said he talked about Trish Stratus is going to be a heel. Now I don't mind speculation, from fans, but you've got these guys in the locker rooms, you've got them in the office, and they're calling all these people and saying, "Hey, this is what we're going to do." And this is why I think WWE having betting is going to fall into a legal realm. I don't think they're prepared for, because it's going to happen. We know it. Some guy in the office has got some long lost buddy that he hadn't talked to forever. Hey man, let me give you the rundown and you go place a bet. We'll split the money. That's just human nature, heel nature anyway. But if we didn't know stuff, I think there would be more viewership.
Absolutely.
And it's always been that way.
I watched this weekend. I've been watching a lot of Southeastern wrestling for whatever reason, been popping up. And sorry, we can't show anything. We have issues with us showing any footage on here due to people getting upset, having us blocked. But the match between Dennis Condrey and Brad Armstrong in Mobile with the handcuffs and Tommy Weathers doing the keeping the key away from Bob was absolutely brilliant. Yes. No one saw that coming. They had it set up perfectly. No other wrestler was allowed. If you were caught, you were suspended. There will be no other wrestlers at ringside during that match, period. And so what could happen? What possibly how could Rose and Condrey get by with it? They had their third man, being the referee. And it was just brilliantly done. And then Bob's reaction to it, unbelievable stuff. And that's the kind of thing I think we're missing. We don't have that shock anymore of watching, being involved with a situation, with a match, and then having that twist that you didn't expect. I think certainly is part of the mystique is gone. And because, like I said, they telegraph every single thing they do. By the way, in case you missed it, we had a contract signing again this week.
Oh, I bet somebody got beat up, didn't they?
Oh, sure. But we did have something new, the weigh-in. And the weigh-in much less ended just like a contract signing.
Oh, see, that's the reason I don't watch that show. All right, here we go.
Yes. And Michael, you're exactly right. Go ahead.
Todd Shields said, very still, poor storylines. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about it, and I think I've commented before, anytime you have two premium events, say WrestleMania has been longer this time around, but if you watch the show after WrestleMania to Backlash, that show will basically be the exact same show for the 3 to 4 weeks leading up to the show. That's both shows. That's both Raw and SmackDown. They will run the exact same thing every single week. People basically in the same position. They may switch it up. It might be a 6-man tag. It's basically the same exact show leading all the way up to that premium show.
I think it's overthinking, making it harder than it really should be. Not everybody should have a storyline. Some people just should have matches. Goodness gracious. That way, when you do a storyline,
certainly they really true. If I may be blunt, they really don't have enough talent to do 3 hours worth of television. They don't really have that amount of talent. They could, but they're not going to. They don't have enough featured people for 3 hours.
It took me 10 minutes to roll down that WWE superstars list. So I don't know.
Are they featured at all those people?
Watch the show, so I don't know.
I mean, they're talking about putting Bobby Lashley against LaKnight. Well, why would you do that? Why would you have Bobby Lashley against LaKnight?
I think that's LA now, right?
Yeah. Oh, is LA? What does LA stand for? Lars Anderson? What is that?
That's Los Angeles Knights, I believe is what it's
Los Angeles Knights. Okay, I thought it was Law Night. Are you sure it's not Law Night? There's no period.
Good wrestler. They just didn't know how to produce him.
I think you're right.
They just made him just be a total goof.
Now, Booker T wants to see that match with Law Knight.
Well, he gets paid by WWE. I wonder why he wants to see that.
I myself, I've decided that I'm going to sign the match since Bobby Lashley does not have an opponent. It will be Bobby Lashley versus NXT.
No, like the whole group of them.
That's the whole group, one after the other.
Hold on,
Just
I'm
leave
checking my
Bobby's-
bank account to see if I got a check from WWE.
We'll have Bobby
Oh, looky there.
Lashley against
I
the
think that's
entire
be a great
roster.
match.
Bobby Lashley, whip every single one of them over there.
Richard Hood said, good evening, fellas. Mako says, what's causing all this? Talking ratings. If for those people who, Michael Barr said, well, it won't let me click on that for some reason, but he said, he gave us a big thumbs up and said, hello from South.
Yeah, it's probably the thumbs up that won't let it come on.
Let's continue here. Go ahead.
Slap your leg, Rodney, and I'll find you.
Speaking of that, my good friend and fellow comrade, Booker T, has talked about the leg slapping and said that anybody who does it should be fired. And I'm with him.
Fire him on the spot. I would meet him when they came back in the dressing room. I said, I helped you out a little bit because I don't want you to be tired. So I got you back, and I got it right here.
That's right.
Anything else that you've left, anything else you left, we'll send it to you. But get out of the building and don't ever come back again. You make our business. You make professional wrestling. You make the WWE. You make the AEW. You make any wrestler that slaps their leg. You make yourself look bad, and you make the guy you're working against look bad.
Y'all stop by NXT and get Terry Taylor on your way out.
He is one of the innovators. I'm telling you right now, he's one of the first people I saw.
Taylor. He never drew a dime in the wrestling business because his crap looked like crap. They seen it, Terry. And then these companies put him in charge of training these people when he sucked himself.
Now, I'll have to say something. That is a talent when you're able to suck yourself.
Terry was...
I gotta go.
Terry, he was great for your mid-level, but the moment he did that on television, they should have fired him on the spot, but they didn't.
Oh,
and they should have. All right, here we go. Dr.
My cat took offense to you, Rod.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm not the one that said it. Brett said it.
Hello, gentlemen, from Dr. Phil Grice. Mako said, Mr. Hood, I presume all is well. Let's see. Richard, I think they're just talking to each other there. How you doing? Rick Brooks is with us. Scott Burke. Let's see. Does the WrestleMania car seems too crowded to you, Jack?
I don't think it's too crowded. If it was all in one day, oh my goodness, yes, it would be way too much.
Yes, 2 days. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the main event for the
first
first night.
You've got SmackDown Friday night. Immediately after it goes off, we go to the Hall of Fame. Then Saturday around noon, you have the NXT pay-per-view. And then 6, 7 o'clock is, I believe, is when WrestleMania Night 1 starts. And then Sunday, same time frame, Sunday night, to get all those matches in. And last year, they went well over, I think 3 hours plus. So do they have a lot? They have a tremendous amount of stuff going on. And I would hate to think that I would have to sit through that much wrestling in one day because I couldn't follow it all. It'd be like watching any AEW pay-per-view. It would kill me.
Rodney, is it overcrowded? Because I don't even know. All I know is Cody Rhodes.
No, not for 2 nights for sure. The main event, of course, for night 1 is Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. So the main event for night 1, I guess it's okay. I honestly feel like as far as comparing this particular card to last year's, I think last year's card was stronger, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
All right, here we go. Hello, all from Donnie Hester. Let's see. Kevin Penley, AEW equals PWG. What is PWG?
It's Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. It was a super indie promotion out there.
Okay.
Which I can agree, because to me, AEW is just like a huge indie promotion. Nothing against indie promotions, but we're making a difference here between promotions and WWE.
Yes. Alan O'Brien, AEW is much more enjoyable than WWE. These guys seem to be focusing on this guy and that guy came from WWE. So what? Do you say the same thing when people from other promotions go to WWE? No, you don't. Alan, I think you're grasping, you're kind of grasping there just a tad, because I want to try to explain this, because why do you want to bring, what was the purpose of bringing WWE wrestlers to your company? Your purpose was so they could help you and elevate you. The problem was Tony got him, and he had Adam Cole. He was there. And within 3 weeks, he killed him by turning him heel, which was stupid. And people say, well, it was different wrestling fans. No, they wasn't, because if it was, there's 2.3 million wrestling fans in the world, Alan. And it's the same 2.3 million people watching all wrestling shows, okay? I don't care what you want to say. He had Daniel Bryan. He was there. He was and then turned him because he thought he was smarter. I'm going to do him different. No, you had them. You had CM Punk. And you put him with people that meant nothing. You just didn't. You don't start a company and bring someone else's talent in and put them on top, though, because it then cheapens your product, because that meant you didn't have any wrestlers that you thought could draw you a dime, so you wouldn't pay WWE wrestlers to do it. The same thing happened to WCW. And within a year or two, they were dead because they couldn't get no more WWE talent. It's not that we're knocking WWE, is it, Jack? Or AEW, we're saying it was not.
No, and here's the what happens is when AEW gets a WWE talent, former WWE talent, they make a big deal out of this guy was a former WWE talent. Mm-hmm. Now, if
we lost Jack, didn't we?
Oh, he froze up. Oh, there he comes back.
Rhodes is a good example. They don't talk about, hey, we one of AEW's top stars. Now they vaguely will mention AEW through Cody, but the way Cody ever mentions it is always with the highest respect. But Tony doesn't want that. He doesn't want you talking about where you went to be, because he's hitting Twitter, and arguing with people, and oh yeah, we got all these great WWE superstars. Well, yeah, you did, because WWE had pretty much got all they could out of them. They're still great wrestlers; they could still produce. But I would never mention WWE if I was AEW. Never get on those Twitter rants about WWE trying to poach my talent and all that. Well, heck, if you've got contracts on them, they can't poach them.
That's correct.
I don't know, and I want to make clear that I have nothing but respect for the talent at AEW.
Yeah.
Tony is the problem. WWE, for the longest, we've acknowledged and agree that Vince had become the problem.
Yeah.
Hunter is still dealing with guidelines that he has to follow. I think a sale, and if they would keep him in that position, I think we'd see a lot of positive changes, because he's got an old school mindset.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, guys, we're only like a year or two away from just pulling the rings out of the arenas and putting trampolines in.
Surely are. Surely is.
What do you say about what he says here about Alan O'Brien? What he asked you right there, the question about that. Do we say the same thing about when people go to pro? Well, is there? I mean, I hate that. Is there any other wrestling companies but WWE and AEW that mean anything? I mean, NWA don't mean crap. I mean,
no,
does.
Impact Wrestling, you know, I don't know that they crack 100,000 views.
Yeah, so
I mean, and not saying there's anything wrong with either one. They're putting out the product that they're proud of, and more power to them for that. But no, they're not in the conversation when you're talking about WWE.
And I'm sorry, but would I have brought Cody Rhodes back to WWE? No, I would not have. I would have said that's where you want it to go because you want it to be pushed more. Go ahead and stay there. I would not have brought him back. I wouldn't have. I wouldn't bring anybody from AEW. And let me tell you the reason, Alan. 819,000, 757,000, 1,046,000, and 954,000 reasons why I would not use any AEW talent on WWE television because they're not getting the ratings here. So why the crap do you think you're going to get them over in WWE? If they wasn't drawing money there and they wasn't drawing ratings, well, that certainly ain't going to draw it for them. And you're a moron if you run a wrestling company and you hire these people that didn't even get the ratings for these people. And then Vince McMahon and WWE takes Cody Rhodes, puts them on their show, and does 1.7 million people on Raw. Well, I wonder why, because he got 819,000, 757,000, 1 million. He couldn't even draw the ratings over here, but they thought they could bring him to WWE and he would get them for him? No, he is not he's not Dusty Rhodes. I like Cody, but he's not Dusty Rhodes. He is not Steve Austin. And he will never be able to be the guy to be the guy in your company. He's just not. And I'm not trying to be mean about it. He's just not that person. He's not his father. I'm sorry. He never will be. You know what I'm getting at? I'm getting a little upset here tonight. I've been sick lately. Okay, so overlook. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Tanya, what's that say?
Concentration.
Concentrational angles doesn't last very long. Tony's concentrational angles.
That's right.
That is problem.
I don't think it's a matter of concentration. I don't think he honestly understands how to tell a story.
Rodney?
You're exactly right. He really doesn't know where to take a person that's basically has talent and feature them on his show and make them into a draw. He doesn't have that ability. That's the difference between when the gentleman, besmirched Brent and caused that terrible display earlier.
I don't know that he was saying me.
I know he was talking about you, and you took it personally, and so he was talking about you, of course. But the difference is,
well, I've been going off on everybody today, so that's just the par for the course.
But yes, okay, I'm done. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No. I what I was saying is that it's a difference being able to take somebody else's talent and then make a star out of them. Classic point, The Undertaker. Mean Mark Callis was not going to draw flies in WCW. He just simply wasn't. But Vince McMahon was able to take him, put him in as The Undertaker, and make a megastar out of him. Tell me where Mr. Khan has done that. He hasn't. He thinks maybe because possibly, if you notice that Miz JF has constant chapped lips. Has anybody noticed this? In his pictures, his lips are very, very chapped. That's where he's putting that lips on the rear end of Tony Khan all the time. Not because of his ability and his skill. And that's the only reason he continues to stay in the position that he's in. All right. So that's the difference. If Vince can take a great talent and then he repackaged them and makes them into a mega superstar, let's think about Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve Austin was another one. The Rock, Rocky Maivia, he wasn't going to draw flies. He wasn't going to draw anything. I mean, Flex Cabana was not going to do anything. Okay, I'm sorry, that wasn't going anywhere. But he was able to take him. And of course, it took some time for him to find himself.
Yep.
And he did, and that was a star. Where has that happened with Mr. Khan? It hasn't. He hasn't been able to take one person's talent from somewhere else and feature them in a meaningful way to bring ratings and to have a success. It hasn't happened. I'm not saying that it won't ever happen, but it certainly hasn't happened to this point. And like I said last week on the program, how many times did we hear, oh, this is the end for the WWE? It was Moxley, then it was, what was it? It was Moxley, and then it was CM Punk, and then it was Cody. Vince McMahon's finished. But who ends up on top? And let's just be honest. As I told them as I said last week, the WWE has officially smoked them. There is no way at this point they can stand up to them. And I would just stop. Just don't do it anymore.
All right, Kevin Penley asked the question: who do you look at the face of AEW, Omega, or do they have one, Jack?
I don't think they have one. Not truly. That one guy, they don't have it. They keep trying to tell us that Jungle Boy, who I think will be really good one of these days, he's not there yet. Omega is just not connecting with the audience. I don't know that he ever did, except for a core group there. The Super Kicker brothers. I think people.
I saw one of them. I saw one of them were hurt.
Tore a bicep. I heard.
And that was strange. Apparently, that was picking up the beer or something.
No, it was this.
Oh.
He
trained himself on that, huh?
They do not have a face of the company, and I think that is one thing they're missing. But let's be fair about it. WWE really doesn't have a face of the company now, because everybody, including Roman Reigns, and I absolutely love what they're doing with Roman Reigns, but he's going to take off after WrestleMania for an extended period of time, according to the dirt sheets. And I don't think it's going to hurt their rating. I think they're locked in on the audience that they're going to draw. And we're already used to not seeing Roman on every show anyway. So I don't think that's going, for their top guy. And I really believe he is their top guy, but he's not irreplaceable.
Is Roman on SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown, but he does Raw as well, just not as much.
All right, that may be the telltale sign why more people watch SmackDown.
And it could be, and I hate to say this to everybody, there's a possibility that Roman will get the corona between now and then.
I believe I might have had the corona.
He's known to have the phony corona. I
didn't have the phony corona. I believe I've had the full-fledged, and I've been in a good mood. So there we go. I know this is off the subject. The WWE Hall of Fame is not an official Hall of Fame, but I'd like to see more of Georgia Championship Wrestling, 70s, mid-80s. Just my opinion.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too.
I don't know. I think they're a legitimate Hall of Fame, but they're a WWE Hall of Fame. They're the biggest wrestling company in the history of our existence. So, if there's going to be a Hall of Fame recognized specifically for them, they're the only ones that can do this. I think they make good choices at times. I think they forget so much about their own past, though, that it's, to not have Ivan Koloff in the Hall of Fame, when he was your world champion at one time, I don't care what your issues were. That man deserved every flower that you could give to him, but he should have had it when he was alive. And at least you owe it to his family and fans to give it to him now. I don't know that it'll ever be done. I can see probably in the future they might stick him in that legacy wing type deal, but he deserves so much more than that. But there's so many others out there that do too. On the other hand, I can see why, as much as I hate it, my favorite wrestlers in the world, wrestling world is Mr. Wrestling #2. I can see why WWE wouldn't put him in though. He had just a brief run with them, and they didn't do nothing with him when he was there, which is why he left.
Yeah.
So I get, because also what they're looking at is, who are we going to put in the Hall of Fame that people might still tune in to see? It's a money process for everybody. Now, saying that, we have legitimate, the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. I believe it's in New York now. I don't quote me on that, but they have a site on Facebook that you can check with them, and they really honor the actual wrestlers of our past in there, and they don't short sheet anybody as far as that goes. They're inducting people from the 40s, 50s, whatever. And it's not like let's put that one in just to fill a spot type deal. They legitimately care about the history of our business. We also had the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, which that's like an 8-hour segment just in itself, how wrong that was and how it fell apart. And I'll give you a little insight. I was kind of helping a little bit with some of the stuff there, and Ronnie West was supposed to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, and the three of us were going to go out and accept the award for him, and then they just everything fell apart, and it's a sad thing.
Michael Barr, there is no more Stone Cold's The Rock, The Edge, The Game, and so on, and there's no Dusty Rhodes. Those wrestling too, and regardless, Rodney there's no Tommy Riches.
No,
give Tommy Rich his due. He should probably be in a Hall of Fame somewhere. Tommy Rich, a lot of money in the wrestling business.
I think so. If Budweiser ever opens one up, I think he should go right in it.
And this German, whatever Intercontinental Champion, is a laugh.
I don't know, man. I think Gunther is it's a breed. He's a breed of old school that's having to deal with new school rules, and yet he still stands out.
Kevin Penley said, why does AEW need a 4-man announcer booth to get the product over? And the SmackDown ring announcer sounds like she's passing a kidney stone. She's horrible.
It's right. He is absolutely right. Rhea Ripley. Oh, it's awful. It's not just that one. It's every single name she announced. It sounds like she's throwing up all over the microphone.
Well, those are over the top guidelines from Vince, and they haven't changed that. But I agree about it.
4 announcers. They got 4 announcers on AEW?
Yes.
And you know what? You would think one of them would do sign language. That way they could get on that area too, so they could, do some interpretation.
Tyrone Spivey said, Gregory, I'm more inclined with you. I want more Georgia Championship Wrestling from the 70s. Guys, you're doing a great job as always. How could anyone consider a WWE Wrestling?
You're right.
I will tell you, and me and Jack, we've talked about this. I don't think we've let Rodney in on that yet, but we are talking about doing a comic book on Georgia Championship Wrestling. And if everything comes to what we want to do, we'll probably start maybe in 1978, and we'll do some comic books that'll include Pac Song, Wrestling 2, Stan Hansen, Abdullah the Butcher, people like that, and we'll do a series of these. But we'll need your help. We're going to need your help, and we'll let people know about it in the next few weeks. Let's see, Tyrone Spivey. I will always be a wrestling fan and long for the days of the 70s and 80s, but how can anyone stomach to watch today's product?
Well, I watch because I in my mind, I figured out several years back, because Brent and I talked about this years ago, is that I separate the time periods. And I don't think anything will ever match the excellence that we had in the 70s and 80s. However, everything wasn't pure gold back then. We had a lot of bad stuff that happened that we tend to overlook as far as nostalgia. But still, overall, I would rather watch Georgia Championship Wrestling from 1980, 82, somewhere in there, than anything that's on TV. We don't have that choice anymore. So I'm able to hold on to those memories, and at the same time learn how to enjoy some, not all, of today's product. There are things that I'm never going to like. I'm never going to like slapping your leg. I'm never going to like everybody using the super kick for a finish or a spot. Those are things that are never going to correlate with me. But if they've got a decent, at least a decent storyline going on with it, I can keep up with it. I can ignore some of the other stuff. And quite frankly, most of the time when I watch today's wrestling, I have my phone, I'm looking at it, I'm waiting for the match to get over just so I can see the finish. That's really about all. I just want to see how you're doing the story. I don't care nothing about the match.
Black Bart. Jacques Rougeau was on Dutch Mantel's show this week talking about your father when he went to Georgia. He was saying good things. Had some good times with Jacques Rougeau. Oh, Jerry Roberts, or as Dad called him, Jerry Jobber. I loved Jacques during that time. We always got along great with Jacques. There was never, I don't think there was ever a bad word said next to each other. He was always nice to us, always respected us, even as kids, and we always thought he should get a better push in Georgia. We even as kids thought he should be pushed. I think we even said he should be pushed over Tommy Rich.
Freeze or just me?
I think you froze.
Okay, I froze. Okay.
Jack, do you remember when UFC ran Birmingham at the fairgrounds in the early days and the state made them leave the state? Do you remember why?
It's because we didn't have an active athletic commission at the time. And the folks at the state level did not see a reason at that point to reenact the commission because they didn't see a future with UFC. They thought this was just another tough man type deal and just let it go. But yeah, I do remember that. Matter of fact, I sent a couple of fighters down there for them.
Richard Hood, Wrestling Today somehow needs to disapprove. Somebody help me there.
Suspend belief is
there you go.
What we're looking for. Yeah.
That was a tongue tire for me. All the storylines are pretty much garbage from Travis. And he said, nope and dope, whatever we were talking about. I agree. Wrestling is not a comedy. It's a sports and not sports entertainment. I grew up watching Georgia Championship Wrestling. Enough said. Yes, it is a sport. It needs to be produced as a drama. If you want to do in these terms today, make it a drama. Look at the street profits. Ridiculous. Are they going to a baseball game or a wrestling match?
That's basketball. That's basketball.
Oh, what did I say? Baseball?
Baseball, yes. Baseball. Oh. It's starting soon, by the way. But that's basketball.
The March Madness going on right now, I believe. South Carolina, I believe, is the ladies' softball, basketball. So I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I think I've had a stroke. I'm not sure. I believe I've had a stroke right here live on the podcast. Reach for the sky, boy. The great one has arrived. Hello, everyone, and Rodney too.
Okay.
See, usually Rodney's the one that turns heel. I done it tonight. See, you didn't see it coming, did you? You didn't see that coming. How well is Trish Stratus going to be a heel? She was a heel before, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's usually good as a heel if they follow through with that storyline. My only issue is if you're going to do something like that, and she's not going to be a regular for a while, it's a waste to me.
Michael Barr, hello all. Connection problems here. Yeah, we're having some difficulties, but we're just going on with it anyway. We're winging it. and going right along with it. NXT opens with a battle royal, gets a good spot for the North American Championship. Haven't they done that 23,000 times?
See, that's the reason I believe it should be Bobby Lashley against the entire NXT.
Michael Barr, I agree 100% there. Television shows are not one city, but now Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime's got some good stuff. I've watched. If you've not watched 1923, one of the best written television programs I have seen, and Helen, what's her name? Helen Mirren. She is tremendous in this. Just not watching a C wrestler in this. It is an A class still, and it's not the wrestler's fault. I will tell Jack, it's not the wrestler's fault. It is the promotion's fault. Now there is sometimes maybe they tell them, hey, look like a little crap, and they went out there and did crap anyway. And I don't know. I'm not there. I don't know what's going on, so I couldn't tell you what's happening. I know I dealt with a few that was. Well, everybody knows it's a work. You know what? I'm not in a good mood tonight. I enjoy this show weekly and the videos you guys put out from my
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Michael Barr, you're right. Jack W is now becoming a Las Vegas gambling deal.
That's not going well. You heard it here.
The commentating is as bad as the wrestling as well for Michael Barr.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
Kevin Penley said the Trish rumor is all over the internet.
I know. Yeah.
Black Bar, tell us how you really feel about the leg slap.
How much time you got?
So awful.
Let's see.
Let me emphasize something real quick about that leg slap. If you can do it and I can't see it, hey, that is great.
Yeah.
I have not seen but maybe a handful of guys that could ever do it where I didn't see it. Scott Armstrong, never saw him.
Yep. Bobby Eaton was able to do it.
Oh, yeah. He did the punch.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was ridiculous to advertise a weigh-in for Brock and is that almost?
Oh, my.
Weight doesn't even matter between pro wrestling heavyweights. Tell them like it is, Donnie. See, if you were on here right now, you'd be yelling and screaming like I did.
Preach it.
If we could let people on here, I probably would have been the only one yelling and screaming about things today. Let's say they say that's what Lanny's. Oh, Rodney, see what you started.
Lord,
you're the one that said it. I didn't say anything. I thought.
Boys.
Big money weekend for the WWE this weekend. If it wasn't, you wouldn't have the AEWs, WrestleCons, and every other hanger-on there to feed off a WrestleMania week.
By the way, while we got that mentioned, 62,000 seats for both days. For both days of WrestleMania, 6,700 for NXT. Now they do say distribution instead of sales, but that's what I got: 62,000 per day for WrestleMania.
And WrestleMania has been sold out for quite a while.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, I did see that they were had some release seats, extra seats. I guess they got those that was in the parking lot that they're selling now.
And those seats will sell.
They'll bring a match out there to them anyway, so it'll be all right. Richard Hood, guys, you do the Trading Tuesdays require students? I don't think so. No, I don't even think I don't think wrestlers today even know who Luthez is.
No.
It would be required if I had a wrestler.
And I frequently have folks that will message me and want to know what they can do to get better, and I basically tell them, pull up some footage from Luthez and from, folks back there in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. And I said, watch how they do it. Watch how they do it and see if it's not more believable. But a lot of these folks, they're not interested in believability. I guess they want me to tell them how to get higher in the ring. And I'm the last guy to ask that of.
Hey, can I put a ladder on top of the top rope and then be able to jump off of that, Jack?
You can do it once.
The Rick Brooks, they put wrestlers that didn't even work for them in.
Yeah.
He said, Omega will go to WWE to be in the video game.
That's the truth.
WWE, if they either hired Omega or the Young Bucks, either one, I'd have to look at whoever hired them and said, why would you? Numbers don't lie. They didn't get them ratings. Why are they going to get us ratings? Roddy Piper, he deserved everything he got when he got to WCW. Whatever money he got, because why? Because Roddy Piper drew money in Charlotte. Roddy Piper drew money in Portland. Roddy Piper helped the ratings in Georgia. Didn't draw too much money in Georgia.
In Ohio, West Virginia, he did.
Ohio, West Virginia did. Drew money for Vince McMahon. Was a catalyst to get Hulk Hogan over. He drew the money, and when he turned babyface, he drew a lot of money. Hulk Hogan on one town, Roddy Piper on the other. He deserved it. Omega deserves nothing. He's drew nothing. He's not drew anything different than Mike Jackson on the main event. He would draw the same amount of 875,000 people because that's just people who's going to watch their wrestling product. It don't matter who it is. Me and Rodney will be on the main event next week, and people will watch it just because that's how many people watch the show. I mean, I know that sounds bad. 670,000 people watch Memphis Wrestling every Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, whenever it came on. 670,000 people, one town, man. And they're happy when they get 800,000. It's sad. Book them, Dano. Should be in the hall from Mako. Gil is with us. Gil said, hated to see what happened to the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I even sent them some good things in good faith. A shame what happened. Did everybody lose everything? That
Not everybody. They've recovered some stuff. I don't remember the lady's name, but she has took it upon herself to go to the building and try to clean up, try to return items to as many family members as she can. Some of the stuff she doesn't know who to send to. And for whatever reason, the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame is not wanting to take anything that they have. But it's basically one lady who has a couple of volunteers that help her that's trying to do right, but a lot of stuff is missing.
Have they checked on eBay or Amazon?
Yeah, they have actually. They actually, it's a police investigation to go along with it. So, the police are actually looking for stuff too.
Jamie Story said, I want to see Ray spank his son and watch Roman get brought down. Thanks, guys. And if they would just distinguish between, I find it funny when they say they're going to turn somebody heel. Because when I watch the show, I can't tell the difference who's a heel babyface. I mean, I'm sorry, I just can't. To me, Roman Reigns seems like a babyface because he's always winning. He's always getting the upper hand. Is that not a babyface? Because if he's going 2 years and always getting something, that he almost has to be the babyface because he's made all the baby faces look horrible then.
Yeah.
At some point, he's got to be beat. If he's doing all this thing, at least every 12 weeks, he's got to be put down, and then he'll work his whole new gimmick to get back there. But man, you can't just keep on doing that. It's just that's just writing, isn't it? It has nothing to do with wrestling. That's just good writing. Lex Luthor, he would get put down by Superman, come back and have a new plan. 6 weeks later, you'd see him again, or 6 months later when he got out of prison or jail. You guys are awesome. Well, thank you so much. Mako said, testify. Mako said, can I get a witness, my brothers? Well, somebody there said something about something that someone heard. Michael Barr, what Can I do better, Jack, Brett, and Rodney? Well, try not to watch wrestling and fall asleep. That's the thing. Because the same every time I have watched it, when I have watched it, I can watch it and then 2 months later watching it again, and it's almost like I've watched the same exact show again. It's just 2 months later. All three of you are on fire tonight. Speak of the truth. And give us a great show. Thank you all.
And I want to point out that just because anybody may have a different opinion than us does not make you wrong.
No.
All entitled to our own opinion. We don't always agree amongst ourselves.
No.
Because I still think Cody Rhodes is winning. But we just present from our experience, the things we've been through in this industry, and you know, like I say, you guys ain't wrong for your opinions. We may not agree, you may not agree with us, but hey, we're all here because we love pro wrestling, real pro wrestling.
Folks, we are going to start talking in the next few weeks. We're going to be talking, and we've not talked a lot about Jim Crockett Promotions. So we're going to be doing some videos of Jim Crockett Promotions, Memphis Wrestling. We very rarely talk about Memphis. A lot of Georgia Championship Wrestling stuff coming up. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about Nicholas Roy Welch promotion. We don't even talk about too much about that stuff going on, and very rarely do we talk about the OWWF. Very rarely we talk about that. So there's a lot of things that we want to do the rest of the year. If you've not subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Go over there. If you're there now, you're watching this, subscribe. Tell people about it. If we want to move people, we want to get as many people as we can over there. We love you on Facebook, and thank you so much. There's going to be some different things going on. We kind of, because we had to be gone for a while, we ended up going on Facebook and YouTube. But there's going to be a time that this show will not be on Facebook at all. Because we're moving to a different format over there on Facebook. So we have some different things we're going to be doing in the next few weeks. Rodney, before we leave, anything you need to talk to the people about?
The most important thing, Tony Khan has made an edict, and I want to read it here this evening, that AEW stars will only be allowed to discuss their health with by only permission only. They must get an excuse. They should get a written statement from the head doctor, the head of health, and from Tony Khan before they will be able to make comments and statements about their health. Very important.
So does that mean we just have to assume that Tony's been doing cocaine and he doesn't have a cold?
That's true. That is absolutely true. Very important. He's not concerned about everybody else talking about what angles they're doing. He is more concerned with people telling about.
Yeah. And I got my information from the internet. So.
Did you? Also, Sasha Banks, you might know her better as the Meghan Markle of professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
She will only go back to the WWE if she gets the same deal as Charlotte and Becky. She's open to it though. She's open to it as long as
if she drew like Charlotte, I'd say give it to her, but I don't think she'll ever get it.
Well, that's her stuff. And Eric Bischoff said he will not be returning to wrestling, and he wants to be nowhere near AEW.
Well, I agree with them there.
Oh, that's one more thing. See what Sean's saying down there.
Tony's been doing cocaine without a prescription.
The big story I think from last week, Dustin Rhodes is apparently going to start his own independent promotion. That's what I understand. I look forward to see what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I've seen some of these student showcase shows.
Have you?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Bad? I don't want to talk about it. Because I like Dustin. I know his heart's in the right place.
Well, all right. Well, I thought that was interesting. I just thought that was interesting. He'll start his own promotion.
Oh man, I tell you what, this has been a day.
CM Punk wants to go back to AEW. Oh, I wonder why.
Nobody else wants them. That's the reason.
No, he's been hurt. He's having to recuperate from that injury. He wasn't going to be able to work anyway. So,
yeah, but they could have put 5 people out there. They could have an AEW 5-person team on that.
He can't share that many spaces with those people.
Let's be honest, though. They could do an entire 2 hours of CM Punk, and I think it would draw more ratings than what they're doing right now.
It's possible, yeah. Mike Chioda also it talks about the predictability of Cody's winning, which I'm talking about the telegraphing.
And I'm going to have information next week so we can plug this show that I'm going to, that Earl Hebner is going to be a part of it.
All right.
And it's going to be I think it's going to be a really good show. I know most of the guys on the card, some of the better independent talent from around the Southeast. It's going to be a lot of fun to be in Arab, Alabama. But I'll get the poster and we'll be able to show it next week.
I also saw where Butterbean's going to have some type of big tough man show.
He's appearing on it.
Okay.
I need to holler at him because he's been wanting to have lunch for the longest, and I keep putting him off, and I don't want him to hurt me.
Right here, I see. I did write down a thing that talked about Eric Bischoff not going back to AEW. You know why I would not go to AEW? Did you see when I kind of had a breakdown and yelled and screamed just a little bit there? That would happen on a daily basis in AEW. I would not last. There is a reason why now I do not work anywhere except
you would be with human resources.
Yes, counseling. And here is our dynamic of when Rodney and Brent are so mad at shows that they're about to kill somebody. That's when I slide in and I take care of the stuff. It's not that I'm not gonna go off the deep end either, but I'm coming in a little bit more cool-headed than what they are. But I'm going to tell you guys, it usually takes a lot to make either one of them mad. But when you see their faces red and their fists balled up from being so mad about dealing with people, you better get out of their way.
Thank y'all so much for being a part of Pro Wrestling Inside Out. We'll see you better next week right here once again. And we'll be talking. We're going to go old school next week. We're not going to talk about any things going on in today's wrestling. We're going to talk about the territories. And we're going to go back to our roots and talk about Georgia Championship Wrestling, Nick Gulas, Jim Barnett, and all those people next week right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Now.
I think